All right, guys, it's been a minute. I've been out doing things. My buddy Trevor let me borrow his bike for a little while, so I've been heading up for weekend rides into the mountains. That's been quite fun. Makes me really wish I had an everyday rider still, but I'm gonna keep working on this one. Make sure we get some progress. I want to get that hoop welded on. I want to start fabricating an electronics tray. I would love to figure out where to hide the battery box. Do think I'll have enough money here shortly to get an anti-gravity small cell battery, which I'll be throwing somewhere, not really sure where yet. And I want to start relocating some of those tabs too while I have access to that welder in the maker lab. That's the goal so far, and we're gonna keep working towards that. This project's definitely going a little bit slower than I would like, but I knew it was going to be a long project in the first place. Either way, I gotta say I've had some awesome support from the YouTube community thus far, so thank you guys very much for helping out the Revving Rebel channel. I'm really hoping to build this channel into something more as time goes on, to possibly get some merchandise out there, build a better logo. I'm working with some people to kind of do that. Hoping to get that, at least get started on trying to place my rear hoop today. So we'll kind of mark that out, see where it can go, and then remove some wheels so we can take our frame down to the shop and do some welding. Weld the hoop on. If you guys saw, I was kind of marking up where I wanted to lay in as far as the back end in relation to the axle. From what I've noticed with other builds and looking at some design techniques, I didn't want the rear of the hoop and the seat to go significantly beyond the center point of the rear axle if you draw a vertical line from that. So that's what I was measuring out. I was just kind of seeing where I like the line. I am trying to get this to a point where this can possibly still be a 2-up bike. I think it'll depend on what has to happen with the battery. So that's kind of why I'm anxious to get that battery in, see where I can place that in relation to everything else on the bike. But it'll be good to be able to start seeing if we can get this on and chop off that back end. My car was gonna work. I have like a Pontiac that is small. So I traded for my wife's car, Excalibur, which is badass. You guys will see here shortly. Probably the coolest vehicle you can ever own. Highly suggest anybody watching these videos obtain one. space than the shop that I do have to work with. But as you can see, we have all kinds of welding equipment, metal workshop. This is the Miller 211 I'm going to be using. Here's the frame that we've got cleaned up after power washing a little bit. I've got my rear hoop. I'm going to try to build some slugs so like this will fit in here. It's a little loose, but I'm thinking I'm going to jam it in a little bit further into the joint on the inside of the hoop, as well as on the back of the actual frame of the bike. So hopefully that'll give it a little bit more rigidity and strength. If you look at the frame, there's this bracket that adds a lot of rigidity. I'm gonna be trying to take off some of these tabs, but I wanna try to keep that in there because I think that'll help balance out the rear hoop. The only issue I can see with keeping that bracket in there is that where I've marked my hoop to set, which is like right in there, bend of the hoop starts happening well before the that L bracket or that corner bracket ends. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do at that spot. Other than that, I want to cut off the end of it and just kind of see what I can figure out with cutting this thing up. Here we go. Picked up this new trick recently from Cafe Racer Garage's channel. Dan, if you haven't watched his videos, does a really killer job explaining all his fabrication and what he's doing. But the most recent trick was that when grinding, put some tape so that you can keep your straight line, which is what I've done here, or tried to at least. Here's the cutting I did. As you can see, there's the bracket right there, and then the tubing's there. So unfortunately I didn't want to cut into this, but I think I'm gonna have to in order to get it cut through the pipe over here. And once I get through that, then it'll have cut into that bracket a little bit, but I'll be able to touch up that with some weld and then grind it down to make it look pretty flush, like it wasn't there. So that's not working. So the new thought is that I actually cut under all that and then lift that pipe up after it's cut from that bracket. So it'll shorten the height of the bracket, but I think I gotta cut that down anyway. Looked at where the rear hoop would fall and where it starts to bend is about here, based on where I'm going to be cutting my hoop. So rather than try to cut that line through, I'm just going to chop right at that bolt and then mirror that on the other side.
idea that I've been playing around with is using this 3/4 tubing. It sits loose in both the main tube and the rear hoop, as you can see, with like those slugs in there too, to like add some rigidity to the rear hoop. When it welds up, it'll at least weld within that one point, and then it's going to jam in between some point up here and some point back. So I just got to kind of figure out the right length for each of those sides, and then once I kind of jam it in there, I'll be able to see how level it is and make sure it's aligned before I tack it into place. There today. There's a lot more grinding and cleanup of different tabs on the bike that I wanted to do. Grind those down smooth, sand down paint, and then we'll be, I think, ready to go to weld. I'm just going to read it on a sandwich. I'll finish this up another time. So for now, that's it. Take it easy. Leave some comments. Thank you for watching.